Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of late season offense matches. I was really looking forward to this week after her remix, since it gave me a great excuse to dust her off and let her do something more than just support. I ended up giving her a ranged tank build using her Refine's built-in guard, follow-up denial, and post-combat healing to shut down her opponents. Her stats get pretty wild with her weapon and newly native unity too, letting her reach around 75 effective res with no extra support at all. There are a couple of tweaks I'd like to make to the build eventually. Attack speed unity would be a great option for her in this role since part of her weapon relies on a speed check, and Note's Menace is a pretty common thing to deal with. Attack speed Fortrace would be another nice option for her, giving her a bit more mobility and in-combat bulk. I brought Zelgius along to back her up, and he's gotten a pretty big update to his build as well. Giving him Savvy Fighter was pretty inevitable for me. It works extremely well with his solid speed stat, and having a full null follow-up, even if it's limited to the enemy phase, lets him shrug off a lot of previously annoying opponents. I went with attack speed bond instead of unity or stance for his ace slot. It's pretty unreliable for him to soak bright shrines, and being a save armor means that he's rarely getting hit by menace. He also doesn't need guard as much with Savvy Fighter available, since he's typically going to demolish his opponent before they have a chance to use their special, and even if they do have a precharged special, it gets blunted by 30%. Lucina was a great fit as support for the week, offering both Air and Zelgius access to special acceleration and a spectrum of combat stats. I also went with a Sabotage over a Ruse for Ashe this week, since I felt like a consistent speed debuff would do more for the team overall than a guard that would only support Zelgius. Now that we've gone over the team, let's get to the first match. This match will be a fun way to start off the week. It gives me a chance to test drive this bonus week Air, now that she's been remixed. And it's a pretty neat squad to run into. It's mostly a flyerball, with a duo Byleth in the backline and a duo Peony as one of their dancers, along with a bonus week Yune, using Impact and Sturdy Blow to help patch up her defense. It can make her deceptively bulky if you're not careful about it, and this Sabotage is actually pretty reliable when she's got 48 reds to back it up. Using Triandra as a 7th slot unit is an interesting choice. It does mean the team isn't going to move until it's engaged on or baited, and it does actually let the team have a backup dancer in case Peony gets sniped, or any of them get sniped. They've also got a couple of +10s on their team with this young Caeda and this young Minerva. They're both really impressive, and this Caeda in particular can be pretty brutal to handle when she has got 60 baseline speed, especially combined with the reins that her team has to offer her, along with the goad from Yune. And of course, Note with Pathfinder just helps make everything a little bit more complicated. I do think that this should be a pretty straightforward match, though, for Air and Zelgius. And we're gonna get things started right away. We'll have Ashe just rally Air, and then Lucina can use Ashe's Warp Effect to reposition her forwards. We'll dance Ashe, which lets her jump over Zelgius and rally him too, before he moves up here, and lets Air test the Savvy Trap, which is real. That's fine. We'll move her over here to make sure they're in range of getting those buffs, and say go. From here, I think Caeda moves first, since she can do some damage to Zelgius. But it's not enough, and she also can't survive that Black Luna. Note should be able to do some as well, since we're not using Close Defense 4 and cancelling her buffs.
One will live, one will die.
But she also can't survive him. And from there, well, Air's not going to have any problems handling Peony, and she's actually fast enough to beat Byleth's Swim Sweep check as well. Which means that she just gets to start healing Zelgius right back up.
Yeah. Fly, Lithia.
Well, that's a big Glacies. Nope. And from there, nobody can reach us. It was a good first turn, even if we didn't quite clear out all of their team in one round. We do still need to pick up these pots though, so that's fine.
Yes.
And from here, Air can just start cleaning up the rest of their team. Nerva's not too much of a problem for her, and
Maybe this way.
well,
Death's caress.
impact is pretty good when you get to initiate, but otherwise, there's just going to kind of demolish her. She probably would have been able to do that in the enemy phase
I bestow
too,
my blessing.
Your orders.
but that's
Truly?
okay.
What's next?
And from here,
Like
Noah can
this.
pick up one pot,
The glimmer
Air
of
can
life.
pick up the second one,
Good morning.
then we'll dance her,
Yes.
and let her close out the match. That was fun. It's nice to see her actually putting in some work as a combat unit. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a really neat one this early in the week. While they aren't using 7 units, this is still a very threatening team, mostly thanks to this maxed out Brave Ulm and this slightly odd at first glance maxed out Zeke. The Zeke is a bit of a trap since outside of him, their entire team is using Wings of Mercy, and this Double Fury is enough to let him get into Wings of Mercy range after 2 combats. With a Fire Sweep Lance and the Trace, he almost guarantees that he will get to attack twice if you just try to bait him, even from maximum range, since one of these 2 dancers should escape Milla and be able to dance him afterwards. And once he has that second attack, he's pretty deep into your team, which lets all of these Wings of Mercies pick an ideal target. And on the off chance if Celica doesn't find a knockout from there, and no melees can reach anything, Katria will move in and swap Zeke, and then Ulm can probably reach something and kill it. A lot of Ulm's threat actually comes from a precharged Luna, courtesy of the infantry pulses from Bakut and this nearly maxed out Renea. They also almost fully charge Celica's Luna. I'm a little surprised she doesn't have Time's Pulse as well, but this Flashing Blade is pretty good at making sure that she gets a Luna, in most cases, especially combined with the triangle attack from Katria. It's a very neatly designed team overall, and it's actually pretty threatening, especially if you don't take it seriously, since you only see 6 units, and several non-meta units involved as well. They also don't have a single mythic on their team, which means this defense takes a pretty hefty lift loss if you get through it. So hopefully they're in lockout here. I'm going to take a turn just to set things up and move into position. And also test this trap in front, since this is where we want to start the fight, and don't want to get Zelgius or Air hit by that right before things get started.
Your
So what
orders.
we're going to do is swap Ash forwards, and
Death's
then
caress.
reposition Zelgius away from the trap,
It will be done.
then have Milla smite Ash, and test it, and it's fake. I guess we didn't have to worry about it after all. She can move
Understood.
back down and then get repositioned by Lucina,
Ready.
and then we'll just dance Ash,
I do
and
not
move her down
object.
here. We're out of the range, and since there isn't a 7th unit, there's no immediate trap involved here. So we don't have to worry about their turn 1.
I
And here,
bestow
we
my
should be able to get
blessing.
things started. We're going to have Milla move up here, thanks to Ash, so that she can be in range to buff Zelgius and Air.
The
Then
glimmer
Air's
of
going to move
life.
up here and break this cake. This cake was actually a very annoying part of planning this out, mostly because I was trying
Good
to
morning.
keep things efficient and start the fight as quickly
Lord
as
Aster,
possible.
guide us.
I tend to overthink things sometimes.
I'll
And
keep you
Ash's
alive.
spot here lets Zelgius warp past this fortress,
Yes.
and lets Air move up and knock out Zeke. With Zeke out of the way, we don't have to worry so much about the dancers anymore. and just have to worry about surviving the triangle attacks from Alm and Celica, which is a little bit spooky, but if I've done my math
Your
correctly, I should be able to do it. So the first thing that should happen is Alm moves in here, and he hits pretty hard
Trust
with
me
this
now.
Luna, but
One will live, one will die.
thanks to Savvy Fighter, Zelgius gets to blunt the Luna hit, and survives it with a chunk of his health left. Celica actually does a lot of damage just
You won't suffer.
thanks to the res-based true damage she gets from her weapon, but it's not enough to finish her off. And from here, well, Renea can't do anything here, and all she does is really help
And now, you rest.
heal our team. And Berkut can't do anything to Zelgius either. Which just leaves a
Say your prayers.
stranded Katria, who's not really that much of a threat on her own. It actually went really well. It's fun to see Zelgius
What's
get
your
through
plan?
something really wild like that. And there
Yes.
too. Now we just want to pick these pots up before we close things out, so I'm going to
Really?
move Ash over here and have Noah smite Peony forwards, thanks to that.
Understood.
We'll reposition Ash this way, which lets
Your
Zelgius move there,
The glimmer
and
of
Air
life.
also gets to escape. The gravity effect is a little annoying.
Maybe this
And
way.
we'll just dance Zelgius
I'll keep you alive.
and open things up, and we'll get to the pots next turn. From
Death's
here,
caress.
we'll just have Air break this pot to start with, since we can't actually save her when she's on a lake,
Ready.
so we don't want to end the turn there. And Peony Condenser,
Yes.
pick up the second pot,
I do not
and
object.
then we'll just let
Your
Zelgius
orders.
keep whoever
What's your
Katria
plan?
attacks safe for
I
one more
bestow
turn.
my blessing.
Nope, she goes after Peony, which is fine. She's not really much of a
Say
threat
your
when she's on
prayers.
her own. And down she goes. That was a really fun match. Let's see what we get next. This match is a bit of an odd one. It's not too often that you run into back-to-back 6-unit teams on defenses in the vault these days, and this one is another 6-unit team with no in-season mythics. Elamine on a defense is interesting. She does offer a lot of defensive value for a safe ball setup, the way this one is structured, and it is always a treat to see a maxed out Black Knight. I was actually using almost this exact build for Zelgius nearly a year ago now. It's still really strong and honestly makes him hard to punch through if you're just trying to attack into him with a physical unit, especially with the damage reduction he can get from Elamine and from Niffle. But the setup as a whole is a little bit off. I don't think they committed fully to the safe ball strategy, since it's actually pretty easy to just bait Furum into attacking if you open up this healing tower. And, well, from there the entire strategy starts to fall apart. This Niffle has some neat skills inherited to her too. The Catch and Trace are really useful, but don't do her much good when she's stuck in a corner like this, and the Hun Dragons only works for Corrin, who's stuck in the other corner. This Corrin is actually really cool too, with the distance dance and Dragon Wall, and it's a bit of a shame to see neat builds like this just not able to do as much as they could when the units are trapped. The Micaiah using a Phantom Res to help boost her Sabotage, that's a neat idea too, and this Rain does help mitigate anybody who's trying to just bait Furum out from this tile or the one on the healing tower itself, but I don't think this is going to give us too many problems overall. I'm actually going to be able to get things started pretty quickly here. We're going to go after Corrin first, since she should be able to do a little bit of damage to Zelgius, which turns off Niffle's Catch for later in this fight.
Your orders.
The glimmer of life.
So we'll
Good
just have
morning.
Air break her way up here,
Death's caress.
and bait out
Understood.
Corin while Lucina repositions Zelgius into place.
Like this.
We can have Millis knight Lucina in to contribute
Lord
her own
Aether, guide
buffs,
us.
and say go. Zelgius is taking sabotage from Caeda, but attack speed bond means that it doesn't really do very much. And while Corin does get to charge up her negating Fang since she got to attack first,
Say your prayers.
it's not going to help her survive this fight. From here we'll need to spend a turn just clearing out structures
Yes.
before we can reach this safe ball.
Ready.
It shouldn't be too hard though.
I'll keep you alive.
Zelgius can jump up past Peony,
Truly.
and we'll have Ash test this. Okay, it's fake.
Death's
And
caress.
then Air can break the Panic Manor,
It will be
and Miller
done.
can jump up here. Yep. Now the rallies start, but without having a rally on Fjorm, it's going to be easy enough to bait her out, and Niffle should actually do some damage to Zelgius too.
I do
I
not
think
object.
from here we might actually be able to have Air just knock out Fjorm too, which will be funny.
Maybe
So we're
this
going to
way.
dance Ash here,
I
move
bestow
Milla
my
over,
blessing.
What's
move
next?
Lucina over,
Death's
and
caress.
then just have Air attack into Fjorm. Fjorm gets to do quite a bit of damage with this Ice Mirror, but we do end up finishing her off. And while Air does end up pretty low on health there, she just starts healing it all right back anyway. And from there we're just going to stay put and wait another turn. Yep, things start moving here. Just a little bit. And Elamine proceeds to continue healing Air. Never going to actually do damage to Air, so the post-combat healing just kicks in.
What's your
Does
plan?
top Zelgius off, sadly, so Niffle will get her catch skill back online, but
The glimmer of
that's
life.
alright. We'll just finish off Elamine here.
Yeah.
And remove one of their sources of damage reduction.
Good
And then from
morning.
here, we're going to let Zelgius start taking his turn at this.
Yes.
I'm not going to knock out Caeda just yet. I do think that Niffle will attack
Caress.
first, which lets the Black Knight survive his round of combat, but I'd
Glimmer
rather
of
not
life.
risk it.
Lord
We'll
Aether,
start
guide
by
us.
having Ash jump up here to rally Zelgius,
Your
and then
orders.
move Lucina here,
I'll keep
and
you
have
alive.
Zelgius swap her.
Like
Then we'll
this.
move Milla over one more tile, and say go. Yep, rally first, and yep, then Niffle moves in. She can get some damage done here, but it's not enough to really threaten Zelgius, especially when he does outspeed her, and gets that 30%
Let's see
damage
how you
reduction.
handle this.
And, well, 30% damage reduction on Niffle's end is nice, but it's also not going to save her. And I think we can actually clean things up from here. We're going to get to watch Zelgius tank a Black Luna and return the favor, which is fun.
Maybe this way. I do not
We'll have
object.
Ash break this healing tower, which lets
That's
Air
correct.
sneak through and knock out Caeda. And then we'll
Understood.
move Lucina here,
Your
let
orders.
Zelgius swap her, and let the Black Knight fight commence.
Will you survive?
Yes, we will.
No draw, no escape.
One will live, and one will die. This match will be a very interesting one. I remember saying on the Discord before the week started that I wasn't planning to throw Air in the path of any bonus week Chroms, but I might have to rethink that stance after this match. They've also got an in-season legendary Leif here, backing them up. They're both using Vantage, which is a fun way to try and help them get through any precharged AoE strategies, and also make them a lot harder to handle if you tank them and don't finish them off in one round of combat. The Byleth behind them is a nice way to round that out with some magical damage, and the speed-based null follow-up can actually come in really useful for someone like Chrom, who's actually reaching around 40 speed in combat. They also have a pre-remix Azura as their dancer, and, well, a 3-movement Byleth or Chrom can definitely wreak havoc on an unsuspecting offense team, with a Yune and Note as their mythics, and an Edelgard all the way in the corner. They didn't box her in, which does mean that she's actually a threat if you aren't careful after this initial engagement, which is a lot better than just cornering her into one spot with structures and letting the enemy team just turn this into a 6v6. I'm not actually expecting to have too many problems with this. If I've mathed this out correctly, Air's actually going to be able to enemy face her way through Chrom, Leif, Byleth, and Yune all in one turn. And we'll potentially get Zelgius to tank Note as well. We're actually going to get this started right away, just by having Air break this structure and have Ash rally her. Then we're going to reposition Air forward and complete her buff spectrum.
Ready.
Before having Peony dance Lucina. We'll move Lucina over, and we're actually going to make sure that we do have Zelgius bodyguard Air in case Note manages to get in range.
Like this.
And we'll move Noah down and say go. I think Leif is actually going to be the first one to attack here. Oh, no. Azura ends. Oh, that's right, because of the 7th unit. I somehow missed that. But it's not actually going to save Chrom here. He does end up doing a little bit more damage because of it, but Air still got this in the bag.
Fly, Lithia.
And, well, with Glacies getting precharged from both of these, there's just no way either of them are surviving. Yune can move in next and, well, get herself knocked out and kindly heal her all the way back to full health. Sadly, it means we don't get to tank Byleth this turn, but oh, never mind. Note was very kind and repositioned Azura out of the way.
Here is something to believe in.
Not the most impressive Sublime Heaven out of Byleth, though. And we just get to Glacies him down too. And then Edelgard can't catch up. While I am a little annoyed at myself for not spotting the dance onto Chrom, it worked out well enough, and honestly we had more than enough wiggle room to manage even with that dance, so from here we're actually just going to slowly move this formation forwards. That is a real gravity trap, it's fine. Edelgard's going to lose her armored stride for this next turn, so she can't actually reach us here, which means we aren't going to end the match right away.
Your orders.
Which is important, because we do want to reach these Aether pots.
Maybe this
We'll just
way.
dance Zelgius,
It will
let
be
Noah
done.
move up this way,
Lord,
and
ask
have Ash move here. And we'll say go. And from here, Note will attack Zelgius, which just doesn't end well for her.
Let's see how you handle this.
And then Azura attacks into air, which also doesn't end well for her. I'm very interested to see what Azura gets for her remix. Looking forward to it. And Edelgard can't catch us. From here, we're going to pull a couple of shenanigans with Ash to reach these Aether pots and to close things out.
What's next?
Switching Ash to the right here lets Lucina warp over the wall and pick up this first pot.
Yes.
And we'll have Air break this tactic room,
Good morning.
which lets Peony dance her,
Death's
and have her
caress.
move up here to break this second pot.
I
We'll smite
bestow my
Zelgius
blessing.
forward to protect her from Fatal Guard,
Truly?
and then just say go. I'll follow up, and Lucina's breath means Zelgius isn't going to have any problems knocking her out.
Let's see how you handle this.
And down she goes. That was a fun one. This match is going to be a very fun one after that last one. This time they're using a harmonic Leif instead of a legendary one, and this one is about as maxed out as you can get with an ascended stat and full attack speed commitment with his A skill and seal. He's very impressive, and honestly it can be really hard to handle if you don't have someone who can beat his speed check, or at least has an auto follow-up and can one-shot him on the first counter. We're also backing that up with a nearly maxed out Brave Erica, also ascended, and an in-season legendary Sigurd, along with a bonus week Yune. This impact and bond actually make her surprisingly bulky physically, and with the Wings of Mercy, as a potential follow-up for the harmonic Leif or Sigurd, or even Erica, can really catch someone off guard. Regarding all of this with the pretty impressive first save formal Myrrh, the Dragon Wall and all of the res stacking from the other skills she has can make it very tricky to actually knock her out with the usual ranged culprits, including the soon-to-be gifted Ninja Korin, and of course having a duo peony here is a great way to supercharge the attack stats of anybody trying to tank in this column to avoid the menaces from Note and Erica. This harsh command from Note is also very sneaky, especially if, like me, your offense team includes penalties, since flipping those penalties into bonuses can turn fights heavily in her allies' favor. It's a pretty spooky setup overall, and I'm looking forward to seeing if I've figured this out correctly. I think I have, and assuming I have, it's going to be fun seeing Zelgius tank this Erica and Air tank this Leif. But we have to get there first. So this first turn we're just going to take it easy a little, and we'll just rely on the safety fence and the fact that their team doesn't actually have a first turn trap to avoid a turn 1 engagement and get things going on their own turns.
Your orders.
Ella's going to move down here and isolate Note for next turn, and then we'll have Zelgius
Maybe this way.
move over this way with flip of Peony, and wait in place. And with that done, we can rally Air, have Zelgius swap Lucina and get himself some definite res buffs.
Yes.
Air's going to move up here, and not break this pot just yet.
What's
Lucina
next?
can use her new position to move up here, that's to Ash, and break this chair for us. Noah's going
Like
to move
this.
here, and
Good
we'll
morning.
have Peony jump past Zelgius, dance him, and round out these buff sets a little
What's your
bit
plan?
before he moves up here to protect her from Erica and Sigurd. The first thing that should happen, is that Erica moves in to attack Zelgius, and while she can do a lot of damage,
No draw,
getting
no
it
escape.
blunted by the savvy fighter means that he's not actually in too much trouble. Leif moves in next, but Eric can just barely outspeed him,
You won't suffer.
and since she can, he can't survive this combat. And there, the dance comes through, and I think Note attacks, since she can do a little bit of damage to Zelgius,
Let's see how you handle this.
while poor Sigurd isn't going to get to do anything now that his weapon's offline.
Withdraw your blade.
Oh, I take it back,
One
he did
will
1
live,
damage,
One will die.
and then gets one-shotted. And then Yune moves in, but even with impact, Air's not going to have any trouble one-shotting her. And down she goes. And from there, nothing else can reach us, and we've taken care of all of their major threats. And from here, I think we can actually pick these pots up and close things out this turn.
I do
I'm
not
going to
object.
start by having Ash rally Air again. She really shouldn't need it for handling Peony,
Yes.
but it's nice to have. We'll let her break this Aether pot,
I'll keep you
and have
alive.
Zelgius open up this throne,
Ready.
which lets Peony warp forwards and dance Air.
The
We
glimmer
can move
of
over
life.
this way and break the second pot. I'm not worried about having Unity online for Peony, she isn't going to ever have problems handling that.
What's
Then we'll
next?
have Lucina jump up here. It's a real trap, but that's fine. Peony can't actually reach her this turn because the movement buff from Sigurd will wear off, so we'll just
It
have
will be
no wait in
done.
place up here, and say go. And we do get the Unity online in the end. Mer moves in first, but she is not actually going to survive this Black Luna.
Let's see how you handle this.
No time for the damage reduction on the second swing to kick in, and Air closes out the match.
Fly, Lithia.
That's a fun one to run into. This match is going to be a little less ridiculous than the last couple have been. It's a pretty basic layout. They do have a maxed out Seliph on their front line here. It's fun to see. I don't know how well Vengeance does for him without his original Miracle Refine, and Desperation's an interesting touch since it can help him make consecutive follow-up attacks thanks to his weapon. But overall, this doesn't really seem too threatening of a team overall. The bonus weak Lucina in the back can make it tricky to engage on this with a melee opponent, but it is a little bit vulnerable to strong ranged units sniping them and hitting and running since they don't have a Dancer. It's fun to see Marcia on the team though. I haven't seen her since her release, and it's a shame. I really liked her character in the Tellius games. Bonus weak Yune and a Walden Edelgard. Again, I'm not really expecting to have too many issues with this one. It's a much more straightforward match than the last couple have been. I'm going to take a turn though just to test this bolt trap up here and make sure we don't have to worry about that later.
Your orders.
Moving Lucina up here, let's
morning.
Stencer,
I bestow
and
my
we'll smite
blessing.
onto the trap, which is fake. Okay, that one's real then.
What's next?
Then she can move back down and
Your
remove
orders.
Zelgius here,
I do not
and
object.
dash over one space.
Lord
And here,
Asker,
we'll
guide
just
us.
have Ash move up to rally air, which lets her dodge this tactic room and
Death's
actually move
caress.
multiple spaces before we dance her. We'll break the
Maybe this
panic mana
way.
and dance her forward onto this trap,
Yes.
which is real, that's fine.
Your orders.
Zelgius, meanwhile, can just swap Peony down,
Understood.
it'll move Lucina up a tile,
Like this.
and say go. The only ranged unit on their team is Yune, so we really don't need to worry about Lucina being out of range of that threat. And all we need to make sure is that Zelgius is covering everybody
One will live, one will die.
from the melee, which he should be able to do pretty easily here.
One will live, one will die.
It's very nice to see him just punch through Swordbreaker like that, and shut down any guaranteed follow-ups from
Say your prayers.
other annoying opponents. Impact isn't going to save Yune when Air just one-shots her. 54 extra attack though, oof. And from there, Lucina can't reach us.
The
And from here,
glimmer
it
of
shouldn't be
life.
too hard to start cleaning up the rest of their team. We're going to leave Edelgard in her corner until we pick up these Aether pots,
Ready.
but Zelgius shouldn't have any problems handling the rest of this.
Yes.
We'll actually just let Air take out Lucina with this iceberg.
A merciful death.
Even with the damage reduction Lucina's getting, it's not enough to mitigate that all the way into something she can survive.
I'll keep you alive.
Zelgius is just going to swap her forwards to bait Node out.
It will be done.
We'll smite Ash past this
Truly?
bolt trap and break the tactic room so we don't have to worry about
What's
it later.
next?
And we'll just move Lucina up too. She's still in range of Zelgius. And that just gets Note pretty easily handled.
One will live, one will die.
Yes.
And then from here, we'll just let Air break one pot,
Maybe
Dance
this
her.
way. Death's caress.
have her break the second pot, then
Your
move
orders.
Zelgius up here to protect her,
Lord Asker
and
guide
Ash,
us.
who's going to rally him,
I bestow
move
my
him
blessing.
up to buff this tile,
What's next?
and have Lucina move up here to give him a breath. And Edelgard moves in, but, well, they'll follow up, and
One will live.
the
One
Black
will
Luna
die.
on the second hit means Zelgius isn't having problems there. This match will be a pretty straightforward start to the end of the week. It's a rematch with the only person who actually cost me a lift this week, so a bit of a grudge match for stopping her from hitting rank 1. They've got a sort of corner safe ball going on here with Henriette and Gustav both covering their entire team, except for the Edelgard over in the corner. And this Zane is actually a neat touch. This Serpentine staff can really mess with people if they're trying to heal through an enemy team while defending, and having him danceable with Azura and bodyguarded by the 2 save armors means that it can be very annoying to actually pick him off before he starts doing a lot of damage to your team. And even if you do end up having an LC Disrupt to take care of him, the Fatal Smoke is built into his weapon, which means it always gets applied as long as he gets to attack. Note and Yune provide them with some extra stats and lift mitigation. This Edelgard is actually boxed in though, even if she does have room to move around. Unless somebody breaks one of these structures, she can't actually go anywhere, so it's a little bit odd. I don't think we're going to have issues here. It should be, like I said, a pretty straightforward start to the end of the week. I am going to need to take a turn to test this bolt trap before we get things going though, and thankfully, with them completely boxed in the way they are, not even having a swap equipped, that means that we
bestow
can
my
actually do
blessing.
that just by having
not object.
Milla and Ash
Your orders.
Lord
break these
Asker guide
thrones,
us.
and then having
Understood.
Lucina up all the way up here and planting feet. And it's real. Interesting. That does mean that Gustav's actually going to be very low on health, as is Zane,
The
but
glimmer
it
of
doesn't
life.
matter.
Death's caress.
Again, nobody can actually move anywhere, so even if Zane does get to heal Yune here, well, we've isolated Azura, so that's all he can do, but he wouldn't be able to get to us one way or another.
Maybe this way. Yes.
So we'll just move her over here and get ready for the next turn. Yep, Zane heals, and that's completely fine. And from here we can get things going. I'm going to have Lucina just move over here to boost Air and Zelgius for the coming combat.
The glimmer
We'll
of
have Air
life.
break this bolt tower to open a path forwards.
Truly?
Ash is going to rally Zelgius,
Ready.
and then we'll dance Air forwards. And she's going to go ahead
Caress.
and pick off this Henriette. Even when defending, Henriette's just not quite able to handle Air. And then
I'll keep you
Zelgius can jump
alive.
up past Peony, and we'll wait from here. I was initially actually planning to just tank this Zane with Air and let everyone sustain, or just endure the rest of this enemy phase, but with this bolt trap being real means that he should actually just end up healing Gustav and letting the rest of his team
It
get
will be
knocked out.
done.
So we'll see. Yep, that's exactly what happens. Isolating Azura means
No
that
draw,
we don't
no
have to worry
escape.
about him getting more heals or delaying this anymore. And, well, without Zane involved, this is a very
Say your
one-sided fight.
prayers.
Azura can't do anything to Air.
A merciful death.
And neither can Yune.
The glimmer
And from
of
here it
life.
should be pretty straightforward to close things out. Air can finish off Zane without any problems.
A merciful death. What's
And
next?
then we'll just have
Good morning.
Peony Dancer
Yes.
to pick up this first pot. Yep,
Your orders.
Zelgius can pick up the second one.
Lord Asker
We'll
guide
have
us.
Ash and Moa
Like
start moving up
this.
to get ready to handle Edelgard. Over
What's your
here, we'll
plan?
just let Zelgius break this Dark Shrine for us.
The glimmer
Air
of life.
can move over and break this hindrance. Peony can then
Maybe
aerobatics
this
past
way.
Zelgius and dance him for some buffs.
Your
Then
orders.
we'll move Lucina
I
up,
bestow my
smite
blessing.
her into position, and let Zelgius handle Edelgard. She's not even using Bonfire here, so she just really can never threaten Zelgius,
Let's see how you handle this.
even if she survived that first round of combat. This match should be a fun way to close out the week. It's a rematch, and they cleared my defense with a maxed out Micaiah, so seeing this maxed out Sothe on their defense header was something that made me curious to see what they've got. They also have this +10 Rolf on their front line, who's really spooky with the combination of Spendthrift and Lull, and a Summer Mia on the other side of the field. Together with the Pathfinder from Note, these two can cover a lot of ground on both sides of the map, and the two rallies from either Sothe or Rolf can help mess with your expectations of who's going to be able to attack and where. The two dancers do a lot of work for making sure that you can't isolate both of them at once, but lining one of them up with Sothe and his rally does make this a very straightforward isolation column, which is a bit of a problem since the ruse and rally from Sothe is a lot of the extra threat that this team packs, especially since they do want him to get danced forward in order to get the Sploit session fully online and have him nuke something that's not expecting to get hit with a potential plus 24 damage from Broadleaf if he attacks after Mia. Planning this out was actually pretty interesting because there's not a good spot to set up an Air Zelgius Lucina triangle the way I have been for the most part this week, mostly thanks to this Pathfinder from Note, which means that we can't just set up front here and tank the world from there. So I'm going to get a little bit experimental with this, and put Zelgius on the front line instead of the back. I'm going to start by moving
It will
Lil
be
back a
done.
tile, now that she's isolated Sothe and Peony. Her job's mostly done, and I just want to make sure that she'll be able to buff this tile specifically.
I'll keep you alive.
Zelgius is going to swap Lucina, and then we'll
Lord
rally
Asker
him with
guide us.
Ash. And Ash's new spot is going to
Death's
let
caress.
Air reposition him forwards into position after we give her a few buffs from
Understood.
Peony.
Ready. Yes.
And then she'll flip him forward, and I expect her to end up baiting Mia and Rolf in, while Zelgius ends up baiting these three. I don't actually think Sothe is going to get a chance to attack Zelgius, since, if I've done my math correctly, I think Note ends up attacking
Your
before
orders.
she does, or before he does. But we'll see. I hope I figured this out correctly. Oh, okay, so Rolf ends up moving first here. I was actually expecting Mia to, which
And now.
would
you
mean
rest.
Air takes a little bit more damage overall, but this is okay too. Yep, Mia moves in next,
Huh?
but damage reduction doesn't really save her when Air
You won't suffer.
outspeeds her by this much. And that debuffs Zelgius with defenses, which should let him bait out the dancers. Note moves in first though, since she can do a little
Let's see
bit
how
more
you
damage
handle
than them.
this.
And I think Triandra moves in here, yep. And, well, she can do some damage, but it's just not quite enough.
Let's see how you handle this.
Sadly, Sothe isn't going to be able to reach us now that Note has removed her Pathfinder from the equation. And well,
Say your prayers.
triangle disadvantage isn't not doing this peony any favors. And Sothe just moves forward. The first turn went really well. It's good to see a plan work out that nicely. From here, I think we can actually knock out Sothe and trap Bremond in the same sequence of actions. So
I
we're
bestow
going to
my
start
blessing.
by having Millis smite Ash forwards. And then
Truly?
move her over here,
Good morning.
dance her, and then
Lord
move her
Aster
forward
guide us.
here. Okay, that's fake.
Your
And
orders.
then Zelgius should actually be able to just jump all the way over here and take down Sothe. And since Bremond doesn't have pass, not that I've ever seen a Bremond with pass, he can't actually get out of here, and that gives us free reign over the map to pick up spots and
Death's
close things out.
curse.
So we're just going to break this tactic room
Your orders.
and say go. And
Like
from here we can
this.
close things out just by smiting Cena forward to
Understood.
pick up one pot. We'll have Zelgius
your
jump
plan?
down here and break this fireplace, and dance him
Maybe
so he can knock out
this way.
Bremond,
The
and
glimmer
Eric
of
can
life.
warp up here to break this second pot
I'll keep you
before
alive.
Zelgius closes out the week.
Say your prayers.
It was a very fun match to plan out. It was a really entertaining week overall. I honestly kind of put Air together here with this team as an experiment, and it's great to see her actually do this well. I am actually fond of using Mythics as, well, at least one part of a carry squad, since they do have regular bonus weeks, and it makes it a lot easier to build a team around them in those weeks. It's also fun just to let them actually flex a little instead of mostly being relegated to support duties. I do have a Discord channel, there's a link in the description if you'd like to hang out and chat, and I've also got a Patreon page there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.